What's up, YouTube? And today, I ain't even gonna lie. The title on today's roster, see, it say serial killers that are on the loose today, but I'm gonna call this video on why you should keep a gun on you. Cause if I run into one of these fucks and they think they finna, damn, I just killed a serial killer. Cause I'm gonna shoot you in the face. I don't play that shit when it comes to my life. I don't play that shit. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, and let God take it away from me. But if it's in my hand and it come down, the only thing I do is up this motherfucking squeeze that trigger. I'm gonna make it out. I'm gonna make it out. Almost every time. It just take one. You know how it be. It take one fuck up. You gotta be humble. It take one fuck up. But the majority of the time, I'm gonna be on. You feel me? It is what it is. But let's get into it, man. Let's get into it, man.
Serial killers that are still on the loose. According to the FBI, there could be up to 50 active serial killers in the United States right now. That's literally one serial killer for every state in the United States. For this year's Halloween special, I knew I wanted to talk about serial killers.
Man, this nigga on the live that fucking motorcycle, dog. While I'm recording my fucking videos and shit, bro. And just ignore it, twin. Just ignore it. But goddamn, it's crazy though. King Von, he was a serial killer, bro. Like, yeah, he hard, he a rapper, but he was a serial killer. Bloodhound Lil Jeff, he's a serial killer. They got multiple bodies. It's a lot. Chicago filled with serial killers. There's serial killers everywhere. Listen to these niggas rap. They make serial killer music.
But I also knew I wanted to make it extra creepy, which is why I wanted to discuss not serial killers who we all know and have been put to jail or put to death. I wanted to discuss serial killers that are currently active or still on the loose to this day. Being on the loose and being active are two different things, which is why this video is a bit of a double feature. I'm going to start by going through every serial killer who is still walking among us, and then I'm going to build up to not only serial killers who are on the loose, but are also on the loose and active to this very day. So without further ado, let's talk about killers that could technically kill you. The I-70 killer. The year is 1992. You are the manager working at a local shoe store, and you've just began your shift. Today was like any other day. You were alone in the store, and the store was quiet. That was until one peculiar-looking man walked in. He enters the store looking directly at you and doesn't say much, although he asks you if you could find something for him in the back. You oblige and walk in the back, only to realize you've been followed. And before you can understand what's going on, you hear the click of a gun and your life flashes. Unfortunately, that is a real story of one of the victims of the I-70 killer. And this victim was one of many. The I-70 killer is named after the I-70 highway because every single one of the murders attributed to him has taken place only a few miles off of the highway. For those unfamiliar, the I-70 highway is one of the longest interstates or highways in the entire United States and runs from Utah to Maryland. That alone is an interesting fact we'll get into later, but more on the killer himself. It's believed that the I-70 killer was most active from 92 until 94. Although murders as recently as 2001 have also been attributed to him. Very little is known about the I-70 killer, and every murder that is associated with him is because of the extremely consistent methodology this man used. Almost every victim of the I-70 killer follows the same criteria. The victim was a woman working alone in a retail location only a few miles off the I-70 highway and was nearly clinically executed with a 22mm bullet to the back of the head. Now, interestingly, all of the murders attributed to the I-70 killer showed little to no signs of assault or robbery after the murder took place, meaning that this killer likely killed simply for the satisfaction of killing, which is just more evidence in case you weren't convinced that this person was twisted already. Now, it's important to note that there are a few murders from the I-70 killer that are a bit unorthodox. Specifically, a few murders that involved male victims, as well as a situation where two people were murdered at the same time, which was the first and only time that happened. And it's theorized by authorities that the I-70 killer believed one of the employees was alone, when in reality the employee and store owner were both present at the location, and the I-70 killer decided to kill both of these people. As of today, there's believed to be...
The world, man. The world is just, I'm so tired of that pink line on my screen. And then it's another one up there too, bro. Like, that shit aggravating, dog. Like, multiple pink lines up there now. That one look like it growing. When I put it in the sun, that bitch look like it growing, man. Put it on my lips and shit. That shit aggravating. Ignore it though, y'all.
Anywhere from 6 to over 9 killings attributed to the I-70 killer. And interestingly, with these murders taking place relatively recently, and the sheer volume of murders that took place, there is quite a bit of evidence and information taking place. But interestingly, even with technology that existed at the time, which was only the early 90s, and the technology that exists today, which is way more advanced, there is still absolutely no clue as to who the I-70 killer could be. And all we have are a few artist depictions based off of a few eyewitness accounts. My mind is still a bit blown that with over 6 active crime scenes that have all been extremely consistent in a relatively modern time period, we still have no real information, and it doesn't look like we're ever going to get any anytime soon. And for people who claim to have seen the I-70 killer, they said that
the crazy thing about it is that probably somebody family member. People probably ain't no telling how many of y'all done ran into him and don't know it. Like like it's a crazy world we live in, bro. You just got to watch, bro. Watch everything. Just watch. You never know what a motherfucker be up to.
Saw a skinny white man, roughly 5'7" to 5'9", in their 20s to 30s at the time. Authorities across the United States are still actively searching for the true identity of the I-70 killer to finally bring him to justice. And today, investigators believe the
was fucking 2 years old when he started his fucking killing spree, and it is 2025 now. Motherfucker, y'all still investigating? It's over with, now. He gone. He got away with his shit. What y'all gonna do? Man, that man probably, what y'all gonna do? Catch him and lock him up? He gone, man. Fuck that.
70 killer is likely between the ages of 52 and 70, meaning that it's extremely likely that he's still alive and roaming the streets today. Although it's believed that he's either retired from killing or simply changed his methods so his new murders cannot be attributed to his now infamous persona. The I-70 killer wasn't the only killer of this kind. There's also an I-70 strangler and an I-65 killer, but even those aren't all of them. And in a press release, the FBI has even stated explicitly that a disproportionate amount of murderers and serial killers have been truck drivers, simply because their lifestyle is so conducive for serial killing. They're consistently traveling city to city, they're hanging out in locations that are relatively temporary, rest stops, gas stations, and they always have a reason to be going somewhere. And truck drivers and trucks, for the most part, kind of fly under the radar. In regards to the I-70 killer specifically, the authorities don't know what his occupation was, but they do believe that he was either a truck driver, a drifter, or somebody who traveled on I-70 frequently for work. So I guess all I can say is, if you're traveling on I-70 and see a man who looks something like this, keep your distance. The Eastbound Strangler. The year is 2006. You and your dog are staying in a cheap motel.
The year I was born? You had to do it the year I was born and you didn't get caught? That's crazy.
Of Atlantic City because you've fallen on pretty hard times, and you decide to go out for your daily walk. You walk your dog on the usual route around the motel when you notice that your dog is particularly inquisitive about something behind the motel. He keeps trying to draw you down to this drainage ditch, and while you're unwilling to go down there, you figure something suspicious is going on. You get back to your room and inform police, and after they arrive, they knock on your door and tell you that what you called them about was extremely concerning, and what was found in that drainage ditch was extremely disturbing. Inside that drainage ditch laid 4 dead women. All of the women that were found in this ditch.
Y'all serial killers got a fascination with women, bro. Yeah, y'all gotta watch these motherfuckers that don't be getting pussy, boy. I'm telling you, they turn psycho. They don't really kill niggas. Like Jeffrey Dahmer was killing straight dudes. The other folks just killing females. Oh, I can't forget to mention this serial killer on my coat. Oh shit, one of the world's worst serial killers. But goddamn, yeah. That shit crazy.
Identified as sex workers in the area. And all of these women were laid extremely methodically. These women were all face down in the drainage ditch, roughly 6 feet apart from each other. All of their heads were pointed eastbound, and all of them were fully clothed except for having their socks and shoes removed. And all of them...
It's weird, sick people, bro.
were strangled to death. The way that these women were killed and the way that their bodies were found is of course where the relatively twisted name of Eastbound Strangler came from. Now, basically everything I've just told you is almost everything that's currently known about the Eastbound Strangler. And unfortunately, that kind of just comes with the territory when you're talking about serial killers that are still on the loose. They're on the loose for a reason, and that's because not much is known, or at least not enough to find them, let alone convict them. And unfortunately, this leaves a lot of room to speculation. And I would argue that if this serial killer was at least strong enough to strangle and move the bodies of 4 women into a ditch, then it's likely that they weren't extremely old when these killings took place. And because these killings took place only 19 years ago, I would say it's very likely that whoever killed these 6 women is still alive today and possibly still active, because all of these 4 murders were only linked together because all of the bodies were found in the same place. But if this killer decided to just go in any other place in the country and kill somebody in any other way, well, nobody's going to really suspect the Eastbound Strangler, the Jeff Davis 8. Fortunately, the Jeff Davis 8 situation does have quite a bit of information surrounding it. However, this information, while not only upsetting, only leads to more questions than answers. The Jeff Davis 8, or the Jennings 8, refers to a series of murders that took place between 2005 and 2009 in the small town of Jennings, Louisiana. All 8 of the Jeff Davis 8 victims were women.
What's up with these motherfuckers and killing women, bro? Damn.
More interestingly than that, they were also connected to each other. Not only did they all live in similar circumstances of being young women struggling with poverty, drug use, and prostitution, but they also literally knew each other. Several of the victims in this case were also police informants, and some of these informants even ratted on each other to the same police station. And police station is something we'll discuss just in a sec. All 8 of these women were killed in similar ways and dumped in similar locations, with the murder methods used being strangulation, suffocation, or drowning. And the areas these bodies were dumped were either in swamps or canals in remote areas outside of Jennings. Now, it's reported that when these bodies were found, it's shown that there was an active attempt to have these bodies unidentifiable once found. And it's also suggested that whoever placed these bodies in these extremely remote locations was very familiar with the local terrain due to how specific...
I'm gonna be so 100. But it's only, it been 3 for 3. I ain't seen nobody, one of these on no serial killer shit. Even though, yeah, you got some, but... And we fuck up America? Okay.
These locations were, and also how hard they were to get to. Off the bat, this case sounds like any of our other cases. Sure, a group of women unfortunately were killed and went missing because they lived in unfortunate situations and were vulnerable to psychopaths that were looking to kill innocent people. But once you look deeper into this case, you realize that while there very likely could have been a serial killer who killed these 8 women, it's also very highly suspected that there was some police involvement. And the theories on the involvement of these police varies drastically. Some people believe that the local authorities not only executed the planning, killing, and hiding of these women's bodies, while others suspect that the local police were simply complicit in the situation and didn't put much effort into...
And police is dirty as shit, and I don't hurt. You feel me? I'm gonna tell you one thing, though. They dirty as fuck. Now, don't get me fucking wrong, but the police are dirty, and this is back then, so, yeah.
Investigating the situation simply because of who the victims were. Now, whether you believe that the Jeff Davis 8 killer was a single serial killer or potentially a group of people involved in law enforcement, the same conclusion can be drawn. Nobody has ever been charged for the murders of these 8 women, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody ever will, which means that the lunatic or lunatics who killed these 8 women are definitely on the loose and walking among us today. To me, this is another case that just rings so odd because there was literally 8 murders that took place over 4 years in super modern history. Like, we're talking 2005 to 2009. Like, the technology wasn't where it is now, but it was definitely advanced enough to have some progress on this. So the fact that 8 murders can take place in 4 years in the exact same place and nothing ever comes of it is extremely suspicious, which is why, for that reason, I don't think that looking more closely at law enforcement is a bad idea. And if you watch some of the documentaries or read some of the books about the situation, then you'll definitely get a deeper perspective on the potential law enforcement involvement. The West Mesa Bone Collector. The year is 2009. You are an active outdoorsman, and this time you decide that something that could be fun to try is testing your survival skills in the middle of the desert. And that's when you decide to try living off the land in Albuquerque's West Mesa. You spend your first day on the trip hiking and getting familiar with the landscape, until, while hiking through a mesa, you see something sticking out of the ground. It doesn't look like a flower or cactus, and as you get closer, you realize that this is a bone, but it doesn't look like any animal bone you've ever seen. And you realize that what you're looking at is a human bone. Immediately, you call the authorities, and within hours, the police have not only dug up one body, they've actually dug up the remains of 11 women and girls. The West Mesa Bone Collector is, first of all, just an insane name to give a serial killer, and second of all, one of the most infamous unsolved cases in modern history. It's unnerving how recent some of these cases are and how little information is actually available.
You know, Missouri is like my ride or die brand. I just love the charm line from Missouri because I feel like it just...
In the case of the West Mesa Bone Collector, the bodies were discovered in 2009. However, it's believed that the murders took place from 2001 until 2005. Following the unfortunate trend already evident in this video, all of the victims of the West Mesa Bone Collector were women. But not only were they women, some of these women were sex workers, and some of them were just struggling with homelessness and addiction. But definitely most saddening of all is some of these women weren't even women at all. Out of all of these 11 victims, well, technically 12, one was a 15-year-old girl and one was an unborn child. Because all of the bodies were skeletal remains by the time they were finally found, authorities were not able to determine a definitive cause of death, although they did say that trauma on the body was evident. And while the murder methods of the Mesa killer are unfortunately unknown, the one consistent variable in the situation is the method of hiding the bodies. Every single one of these 11 bodies was hidden in the exact same location, with the bodies being wrapped and then placed underground in an active effort to make sure these bodies were never found. And while the bodies were eventually found, the killer never was. At least not yet. And once again, this is another upsetting situation of potential mismanagement from the authorities. Because seriously, how do at least 11 women go missing in 4 years without anybody saying anything? And then when all of these women are found in the exact same location, even then, nothing is then known or discovered for the next 20 years. It's so disheartening. And I didn't mean for this video to be a bummer. It was kind of supposed to be scary, but I guess with this sort of situation, it, well, comes with the territory. But regardless, with these murders taking place only from 2001 to 2005, it is extremely likely that the killer who executed these murders is still alive today and walking among us. The Rainbow Killer. The Rainbow Killer is the first killer we're discussing that is not from the United States. Although the serial killer does still have a stereotypical, insane serial killer nickname. And the Rainbow Killer got his nickname because he was targeting and assassinating gay men in Brazil. Whoever is giving these serial killers names seriously needs to chill. But back on a serious note, the murders executed by the Rainbow Killer took place...
The Rainbow Killer. Oh my fucking God. My Donald Trump love his ass. Donald Trump love that nigga. But that nigga come to America, he probably goddamn... Man, shit. I don't fuck with Donald Trump. Donald Trump might love Brad.
Between 2007 and 2008, and during this time it's believed that the Rainbow Killer killed at least 13 gay men, all between the ages of 20 and 40, and all of them being shot in the head. Like some of the other cases in this video, it was suspected that the alleged serial killer could actually be a member of law enforcement. However, in this situation, this was something that other authorities took seriously. And in 2008, the same year that the murders were actually ongoing, the Sao Paulo Public Safety Department actually made a public statement announcing that the killer might actually be a police officer, which I think is a very bold and respectable claim for the government to say. Like, if one of their own is doing this, it's important that they be able to speak up about that. Interestingly, later that same year in December of 2008, a Brazilian police officer was actually arrested because an alleged eyewitness stated that he saw this police officer kill a gay man by shooting him 12 times. And on top of this, another eyewitness reported to authorities that they saw the same police officer often hanging out in the same park where all of these gay men were being harassed and killed. Now, with two very strong eyewitnesses,
the police, I don't fuck. That's the modern day KKK, bro. They just get to do what the fuck they want to. Look at this shit. How the fuck do you get in trouble for reporting a police officer killing somebody? And one thing about the police, but they gonna stick up for each other. They gonna lie for each other. They gonna stick up for each other. They gonna do everything for each other.
His claims obviously His claims, obviously there was a case against this police officer, and for the first time in this video, it seems like there may be justice served. However, that was not the case, because in 2011, 3 years later, the police officer that was alleged of killing this gay man and potentially being the Rainbow Killer was released after his trial because it was declared that he was not guilty by the jury. And whether you believe that it was actually this police officer or someone else entirely, the end result is the same. The Rainbow Killer, responsible for killing over 13 gay men, is still on the loose to this day. The vending machine murders. The year is 1985, and you are excited because you are on your first trip to Japan. You told yourself that on this trip, you're gonna live like the locals, and it was at this point that you decided to get involved into vending machine culture. Luckily, vending machines are something that are not hard to find in Japan, and you quickly on your walk are able to find one on the side of the road. You walk up to this vending machine fully intending to buy a drink when you realize that there was actually a perfectly good sealed drink sitting on the top of a vending machine. Knowing that Japanese culture is so wholesome and giving, you realize that somebody must have bought this just to give away for free, and you decide to receive the gift. This drink was an orange-flavored energy drink, and that was something that you were honestly kind of craving at that time. After drinking the drink and going on with your day, you realize that you don't really feel too good. You go home feeling sick, trying to sleep it off, but when you get into your bed to take a nap, you never woke up. The story I just told is big.
What if you were prepared for all those interview curveballs? Introducing Indeed.
Based off of the reality of 13 people in Japan. From April to November in 1985, 13 people were murdered and 35 people got seriously sick because they drank poisoned drinks left on the top of vending machines. Now, if you're asking yourself, who's just drinking drinks left on the top of vending machines? Well, a lot of people actually, and that's because this drink at the time was having low sales. And because these drinks were having low sales, they were offering buy one, get one free promotions in certain vending machines. So it wasn't necessarily uncommon to find the extra bottle left on top as a gift on top of the vending machine. And because people knew that this promotion was going on and they had seen in other places this drink was left on top, it wasn't unheard of to take this drink or potentially even leave this drink for someone else. But unfortunately, this fun gesture of paying it forward was severely abused by one or potentially multiple twisted individuals when they decided to leave laced drinks with paraquat on top of vending machines. Paraquat was a very popular herbicide, and while it was a popular herbicide, it also wasn't a stranger to death, as in the previous year of 1984, over 1,300 people took their own life by ingesting this toxic substance. The ways in which these victims died varied, as in the previous year of 1984, over 1,300 people took their own life by ingesting this toxic substance. The ways in which these victims died varied pretty significantly, with some victims.
Bodies. I was about to say, but if you did that shit and you still walking free, 13,000, and you walking free, but what the fuck? I'm gonna kill your ass if you get close to me, bro. What the fuck?
Dying within hours of drinking the poisoned beverage, with others dying after 6 weeks of excruciating pain. The Japanese police never received or discovered any leads associated with this string of murders. However, they believed that this string of poisonings was all executed by a single person. There was never any video evidence of this individual, and there was no physical evidence. And the only true response to this entire situation was nationwide prevention campaigns to further prevent poisonings with other products in Japan. However, those didn't stop future poisonings, because in 1998 and even in 2019, there was other reported cases of intentional poisonings via a beverage, with some of those also using the same toxic agent, paraquat. This situation is just super disturbing, but in a different way to the other murders, because there was no in-person violence, there was no motive, there was no specific target, there was no trend. He didn't know or care if he was poisoning women, children, elderly people, pregnant women. They just wanted to kill people, and unfortunately, they did exactly that and got away with it. Considering these murders took place in 1985, there is a chance that whoever executed these murders could be dead by now, potentially by natural causes or other. However, I would say that it's also likely that whoever did this is still roaming the streets of Japan today, and unfortunately, still a free individual. Just to give you some context about how little information there really is in all of these unsolved cases, the numbers that I gave you about how many people were sick and died only came out in 2012, meaning that from 1985 until 2011, not much was known about how many people died during this stint of poisonings or how many people were injured at all. And it's for this reason that a lot of the serial killers that are still on the loose are from at least over a decade ago, because it takes so much time to gather small scraps of information that are available and connect the dots. But the reality is, with these situations, these people are on the loose because information was not available or was simply not put to good use. The Danilovsky Maniac. Maintaining our now international theme, we next have a serial killer from Russia. The Danilovsky maniac is a serial killer who committed at least 7 murders between 2004 and 2007 in Shcherpovets, Russia. This killer is known as the Danilovsky maniac because 3 of the murders he committed took place in an abandoned construction site on Danilovsky Street. Like every other depraved individual on this list, this killer targeted women. He would assault them, kill them, and then hide their bodies in construction sites across his city. And multiple of his victims were girls under the age of 18. The Danilovsky maniac is believed to be active as early as 1999 and as late as 2010. And with nearly 11 years of crime, 7 confirmed killings, and 14 possible killings, there was quite a bit of information being processed by the police. However, nobody was ever caught. But this wasn't due to a lack of effort. In 2008 alone, over 200 people were interviewed to see if they knew anything or potentially were the murderer, and the police were even offering up to 500,000 rubles for any information. However, this reward has still gone unclaimed. One disturbing trait that was common for the Danilovsky maniac was that he would leave crude drawings at the scene of each murder to essentially taunt police. These drawings were graphic in nature and extremely upsetting considering the context. As of 2024, authorities have not publicly named any suspects in this case, and all of the cases associated with the serial killer are unfortunately unsolved. The only information that the authorities are able to give
I don't wanna play in your
publicly is that they believe that the serial killer is likely alive and potentially between the ages of 58 and 73, and may have bald spots in their hair. And if that description sounds extremely vague to you, well, that's because it is. I feel like at least 40% of Russia's population fits that description, so it's not very helpful. Although, even this minuscule amount of information is better than the no information available in some of the other cases we've discussed on this list. It's no secret that we've discussed some seriously sick and twisted individuals so far on this list. However, we're not done yet, because like I mentioned, we're going to end the video with serial killers that are on the loose and active to this very day, with confirmed kills within the last few years, or potentially even more recently. And if you thought there was limited information about these serial killers we've discussed so far, well, buckle up, because all of the active serial killers we're about to discuss have almost nothing known about them, and that's, like I mentioned, part of the nature. One thing that I've learned from making serial killer videos and kind of researching serial killers in general is that serial killers are more or less of a retrospective game. It typically takes many years after the fact for authorities to be able to piece things together and put together a proper timeline of exactly what happened and connect all of the dots that tie a single killer to all of the different victims. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that there's nothing for us to discuss. There's just not many examples and they're relatively vague, which is why I'm going to do a bit of a speed run, and the speed run is about to get crazy. But not as crazy as how many of you aren't actually subscribed. So if you do enjoy these videos and like my cute pumpkin outfit, then consider being a bro and subscribing. We're getting so close to 1 million subscribers. But okay, let's go through this speed round of serial killers that are active right now. We're starting in Mexico, and it's not necessarily one individual, it's actually a place. And this place is known as the Highway of Death. It's basically a 136-mile stretch of a federal highway that since 2022 has seen the death of at least 71 individuals who have...
Don't that make sense? The fucking cartel? Come on, dog. The cartel, that is not, that is an organization full of serial killers. The cartel. And you know what? I'm finna do a video on the cartel. Cause what the fuck? Them are some weird individuals.
Been provably murdered. Beyond these 71 proven murders on this highway, there's believed to be over 200 potential murders that have taken place on this highway since 2020, and the number is still only going up. It's not necessarily believed that only one serial killer is responsible for all these murders, and authorities believe that this is most likely the work of cartels, but they have explicitly said that they are not writing off...
Nigga, dog, it's them. 200 plus, but who's that gonna, and they right, man, out 200 people? It does the fucking cartel, man.
Criminals to also be responsible for some of the murders that have taken place on this highway. Meaning that if anything, this stretch of highway is not home to just one serial killer, but multiple. 18 different individuals who were attacked on the highway and survived all claimed that they were abducted by armed men and tortured before being released or escaping. And while
you was in Mexico and you got abducted by armed men and tortured. I'm not the smartest man in the fucking world, but it kind of sounds like they're talking about that, you know. Come on now.
While no motivation is given beyond that, it further adds to the theory that cartel intervention is happening.
Man,
Although
the
if the cartels are
cartel
doing
never
this,
go
begs the
down.
question of
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
their
yeah,
motivation.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
because
too
somebody's a
many.
member of the cartel, that doesn't mean that they're not a rogue serial killer on their off time. Another ongoing situation that's taking place not in Mexico but in Canada is known as the Highway of Tears. On the now infamous Highway 16 in Canada, from 1970 up until the modern day, like right now, over 80 women and girls, primarily indigenous women and girls, have been murdered or have gone missing while walking on the side of this highway. With this string of murders ongoing now for over
You do
50
gotta really
years,
think
it is
about it though. Like, it is like big ass bears and mooses and shit, and where they are, like that is Canada now. Y'all do have some mooses, grizzlies, all that. Probably got chased off their path, and fucking who knows what. Probably committed suicide. Like if you did this. I ain't saying that ain't no human did it, but I'm saying what possibly could have happened with this right here. Because y'all do got some big ass animals in Canada.
believed that murdering innocent people on this highway has become more or less of a multi-generational tradition among seriously twisted individuals. And it's believed that not one, but many individuals have killed innocent women on this highway for a plethora of disturbing reasons. Going right back down to Mexico, we're discussing the toy car murderers. This is once again not necessarily one killer, but a group of killers who live in Sinaloa. These murders took place from 2019 to 2023 and still may be ongoing to this day. They have 5 proven victims.
Nah, they said Sinaloa. Now, if it ain't him, it's the one that's next up behind his ass. Because he dead. The one responsible for that shit is in jail in ADX Florence Max. But, I'm going to let y'all figure him out. Because I am not going to tell y'all kids, even though y'all going to know, y'all see who this is. I mean, his name is on my fucking coat. But it's the next up.
And 6 possible
It sound
victims.
like
And this
some-
killer
it
or
sound
group
like
of
some
killers are known
bullshit.
as the toy car killers because they are specifically targeting car thieves. Yeah, like this is some Dexter stuff. These individuals are identifying car thieves, shooting them in the head, leaving them for dead, and leaving toy cars on their body as a calling card. Authorities believe that this is some form of vigilante justice and the actions are being taken out by either one person or a group of organized people, all with the same hatred of car thieves. Having a serial killing calling card in
nothing wrong with that.
2023 is some seriously diabolical stuff. And don't get me wrong, stealing somebody's car is really messed up. But if you're going to create an organized crime murder vigilante justice group, I feel like there are probably other crimes you could go after rather than car thieves. But that's just my 2 cents. Not advocating for vigilante justice or murder, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's probably other things you could be more motivated by, but what do I know? Heading over to the States, we have the Little Rock serial stabbings. From 2020 to 2021, there were 3 confirmed fatal stabbings in Little Rock, Arkansas. All 3 of these stabbings were believed to be committed by the same person, and unfortunately, there is absolutely no
Y'all don't
information
carry
about who
guns,
was stabbing
bro,
these
like,
people and why they
so
were
after
stabbing these
2020,
people.
it's gonna be
Authorities
no
are
more
actively
fucking
investigating the
serial
situation, and hopefully justice
Even
and answers are brought
fucking
forward.
13-year-olds got guns with fucking fully pieces and switches on them. And it shouldn't be no fucking more serial killing after 2020. Man, come on now. Everybody got a gun, dog. Man, he running. And they crazy. This shit, none of these motherfucking killers are found in Chicago. Even though Chicago's home serial killers. I don't know why I like bringing up Chicago.
Jumping over to
Chicago, this is a
Pakistan,
good
we have the
example on
Jankil
niggas not
grave.
finna
In
go there and
2020,
try
a
no
grave
stupid
containing
shit.
the bodies
They
of
gonna
4
get
teenage
illegal,
boys was
folks.
found.
Chicago
One of these
is
boys
that
was
city
decapitated,
to
one of
me,
them was shot,
honestly.
and 2
You
of them
wanna
were
go
stoned to
doing
death.
stupid
The
shit,
only
you
connection
think
between
you
all
feel
of these bodies were the fact that they were buried in the same place. But beyond that, nobody knows who killed these boys, why they killed them, or when this even happened. The situation has been going since 2020 and minimal updates have been provided since then. There has been numerous protests in Pakistan demanding justice for these young boys, but unfortunately, answers or justice have not been given yet. And this killer, along with all others, are still at large. Heading over to Mali, of all places, we have the Fana beheadings, which took place from 2018 to 2022 when 10 confirmed individuals were beheaded in a ritualistic decapitation. Upon investigation, it was confirmed that none of these victims had anything in common, and their heads were eventually found separately, but all of these bodies had their blood drained, which is why it was believed these bodies were used for ritualistic purposes. Since these murders, investigations have been ongoing and updates have been minimal. However, these murders did shock the region of Africa, and the UN has actively inserted themselves in the situation to try to, quote, continue to make sustained efforts to protect civilians. And for the final entry on this entire list, we have a man named Vampire, a Kenyan serial killer who was active from 2022 to 2024, and in that time killed a confirmed 42 women. Vampire.
He just looked like he don't get no pussy. You killed 42 women. Yeah, there's a lot of non-pussy getting motherfuckers because y'all was killing the shit out of females, boy. Damn. Damn, bro.
Is a 33-year-old Kenyan man in Nairobi, and after his 42 woman killing spree from 2022 to 2024, he actually was arrested, but shortly after being arrested, escaped custody and has not been heard from or seen since. It is believed by some in Kenya that the police actively aided in the escape of the serial killer, which is extremely disheartening if true. As we conclude this video, I do just want to make a quick reminder that everything I discussed in this video is real. These are real victims with real families and real friends and real lives destroyed and ruined and taken. I try my absolute best to make these videos informative and respectful. Besides that, I want to say thank you guys for enjoying, and I hope you have a safe and fun Halloween.
Yeah, man. Y'all tell me how it ain't even Halloween no more. Thanksgiving coming up, so it's time to go spend the holiday with your family. But y'all tell me how y'all felt about that video. This video in the comments. This video gave me the heebie-jeebies, but y'all tell me how y'all feel about the video. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more, man. I'm dropping more bangers for y'all folks.